Friends, today I want to share with you a simple act that carries a profound spiritual and physical message: washing your feet with vinegar. Now I know some of you are thinking, vinegar? That's just something for the kitchen. But listen carefully, this is not about the vinegar itself. It's about what it represents, what it awakens, and what God wants to teach you through the ordinary. Feet carry the weight of your journey. They take you where your heart leads. They walk through the trials of life, the dirt of the world clinging to your steps. And just as our souls accumulate burdens, our feet accumulate filth. Vinegar, though sharp and sour to the taste, is cleansing. It has a power to purify, to remove what is sticky, what is decayed, what clings to us unnoticed. Washing your feet with vinegar is an act of humility, an acknowledgement that you need cleansing, that you cannot walk freely carrying yesterday's grime. When you immerse your feet in vinegar, you are symbolically surrendering every step you've taken that was not aligned with God's purpose. You are telling the Lord, I cannot carry this alone, I need your purification. And as the vinegar stings, it reminds you of conviction. Sometimes the very thing that seems unpleasant is the thing that brings healing. Sometimes growth is uncomfortable, but friends, through that discomfort comes clarity, freedom, and renewal. And notice what happens afterward. Your feet feel lighter. Every step becomes intentional. Every path you take becomes guided by wisdom rather than habit. Vinegar doesn't just cleanse the foot, it awakens the spirit. It teaches discipline, humility, and reliance on God's refining touch. It is a reminder that even the smallest acts of obedience carry mighty results. So don't dismiss the simple, the strange, or the sharp. Sometimes God speaks through the ordinary, the daily rituals, and yes, even the sourness of vinegar. Wash your feet, surrender your steps, and watch what happens. You will step into a life of clarity, purity, and purpose you never imagined. Remember, it's not the vinegar that works the miracle, it's your willingness to humble yourself, to obey, and to let God cleanse what is hidden. Do this and watch your path change forever. Feet represent your life's journey. Your feet symbolize every path you've taken, every decision you've made, and every burden you've carried along the way. Feet represent your life's journey, and this truth is far deeper than most people realize. Your feet are the first part of your body to touch the ground when you wake up and the last to rest when the day is done. They silently record everywhere you have been, every road you chose, every place you lingered, every direction you avoided. Long before anyone hears your story, your feet have already lived it. They have walked through seasons of joy and seasons of pain, through moments of confidence and moments of fear. They have carried you into opportunities and away from responsibilities. They have taken you toward light and at times into shadows. Every step you take is connected to a decision. No one ends up somewhere by accident, it begins with a step. Some steps are bold, others hesitant. Some are taken in faith, others in doubt. And over time those steps form a path, and that path forms a life. The condition of your feet reflects the condition of your journey. Dust gathers when you walk long roads. Bruises form when the path is rough. Cuts appear when you walk carelessly. In the same way, life leaves marks on the soul. Disappointments cling to us. Regrets harden. Unforgiveness becomes like dirt pressed deep into the skin. Feet also carry weight. They support the entire body just as your choices support the structure of your life. When the load becomes too heavy, the feet feel it first. When the journey is too long, they ache before anything else. This is why weariness often shows up as a desire to stop moving, to stand still, to avoid taking the next step. Many people are not lost, they are simply tired. Their feet are worn from walking without rest, without reflection, without renewal. Yet feet are not meant to remain dirty, wounded, or burdened forever. They are meant to be washed, restored, and strengthened for what lies ahead. When you acknowledge your feet as symbols of your journey, you are forced to confront where you have been and where you are going. You begin to ask honest questions. Why am I on this road? Who chose this direction? What am I carrying that no longer belongs with me? To care for your feet is to care for your future. It's to pause long enough to recognize that every next step matters. A cleansed foot walks differently than a neglected one. It moves with intention, with awareness, with purpose. When the journey is acknowledged, examined, and purified, the traveler gains clarity. And clarity changes everything. It turns wandering into direction and exhaustion into resolve. When your feet are prepared, your path becomes clearer, your pace becomes steadier, and your life begins to move forward with meaning rather than momentum. Vinegar represents cleansing through humility, though simple and uncomfortable. Vinegar symbolizes purification, removing what clings to us and acknowledging our need for renewal. Vinegar represents cleansing through humility, and humility is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful forces in transformation. Vinegar is not sweet, it is not gentle, and it does not pretend to be something it is not. It is sharp, honest, and effective. In the same way, true humility is not weakness and it is not self-pity. Humility is the courage to face reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. It is the willingness to admit that something needs to be cleaned, corrected, or surrendered. When a person chooses to wash their feet with vinegar, they are choosing honesty over comfort. They are saying, I acknowledge the dirt. I recognize what has built up over time. I am no longer pretending that everything is fine. Vinegar does not flatter the skin, it confronts it. It exposes wounds, irritates sensitive areas, and reacts immediately with what is unclean. That reaction is not harm, it is evidence that cleansing is happening. In life, humility works the same way. When we allow truth to touch our hidden faults, it can sting. Conviction often feels uncomfortable before it feels freeing. Many people avoid humility because it requires surrender. It means laying down pride, excuses, and self-justification. It means admitting that we do not have complete control, that we have made mistakes, that we have walked paths that left residue on our hearts. Vinegar does not ask permission to clean, it does its work thoroughly. Humility too demands full access. Partial surrender leads to partial change. But when humility is embraced fully, cleansing reaches places that surface solutions never touch. There is also patience in this act. Washing does not happen in a rush. You soak, you wait, you allow the process to unfold. Humility teaches patience with yourself and with transformation. It reminds you that growth is not instant and healing is not shallow. Just as vinegar breaks down hardened residue over time, humility softens hearts that have grown rigid from disappointment, fear, or pride. It loosens what has been stuck for too long. Vinegar's simplicity is also important. It is ordinary, accessible, and inexpensive. This reminds us that humility does not require dramatic gestures or public displays. It begins in quiet, personal moments where no one is watching. True cleansing often happens away from applause. It happens when you choose reflection over reaction, correction over denial, and surrender over resistance. In the end, vinegar does not transform because it is impressive, it transforms because it is effective. Humility works the same way. It strips away what is false and leaves what is real. It clears the way for renewal, strength, and direction. When humility is practiced, the journey becomes lighter, the steps become steadier, and the path forward becomes possible again. Discomfort often brings true healing. The sting of vinegar reflects conviction. Growth and transformation are rarely comfortable, but they are necessary. Discomfort often brings true healing, even though everything within us tries to avoid it. We are wired to seek relief, ease, and familiarity. The moment something stings, pressures, or unsettles us, our instinct is to pull away. Yet healing rarely announces itself with comfort. More often it arrives disguised as irritation, exposure, and unease. The sting is not the enemy, it is the signal that something real is happening beneath the surface. When vinegar touches the skin, especially skin that has been worn, cracked, or wounded, it reacts immediately. That sharp sensation is not punishment, it is contact. It means the cleansing agent has reached a sensitive place, an area that needs attention. In life, discomfort works the same way. Conviction hurts because it touches truth. Growth aches because it stretches what has been tight for too long. Healing feels intense because it interrupts patterns that once felt normal, even when they were harmful. Many people mistake comfort for health. They assume that if something feels familiar, it must be right, and if something feels painful, it must be wrong. But familiarity can coexist with damage. A wound ignored long enough stops hurting, not because it is healed, but because it is numb. Discomfort breaks numbness. It wakes us up. It forces us to pay attention to what we have learned to tolerate but were never meant to carry. True healing demands exposure. It requires light where darkness has settled and pressure where stagnation has taken root. This is why growth often begins with resistance. Old habits resist change. Pride resists correction. Fear resists movement. When discomfort appears, it is often because something unhealthy is being challenged. The pain is not a sign to stop, it is a sign to stay present and let the process work. There is also a refining nature to discomfort. It separates what is essential from what is excessive. When things are easy, we carry everything. When things are hard, we learn what truly matters. Discomfort strips away distractions, illusions, and false strength. It reveals dependence, vulnerability, and truth. And while that revelation can feel threatening, it is also freeing. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. Healing that bypasses discomfort is usually superficial. It treats symptoms without addressing roots. Deep healing, the kind that lasts, goes beneath appearances and reaches causes. It reorders priorities, reshapes character, and realigns direction. That kind of healing does not rush. It stays long enough to finish its work even when the process feels slow or demanding. In time, discomfort gives way to strength. What once stung becomes settled. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. The same place that reacted sharply begins to feel clean, restored, and stable. The pain was not wasted, it was necessary. Healing does not come by avoiding what hurts, but by allowing what heals to do its work. When discomfort is understood rather than feared, it becomes a doorway, not a barrier, leading to wholeness, clarity, and lasting change. Small acts can carry deep spiritual meaning. Even ordinary actions can become powerful moments of surrender when done with the right heart and intention. Small acts can carry deep spiritual meaning even though they are often overlooked, rushed past, or dismissed as insignificant. In a world obsessed with the dramatic and the visible, we are taught to believe that only big moments matter. We wait for life-changing events, powerful breakthroughs, or public victories, assuming transformation must always be loud and undeniable. Yet history, growth, and character are most often shaped quietly in the ordinary choices repeated day after day. What seems small to the eye is often weighty to the soul. A simple action becomes powerful when intention enters it. Washing feet, pausing to reflect, choosing restraint, speaking a kind word, or taking time to cleanse what has been neglected may look unimpressive, but these moments form the foundation of deeper change. Small acts are accessible to everyone. They do not require special status, recognition, or resources. They only require willingness, and willingness is where transformation always begins. There is humility in small acts. They strip away the need to be seen or praised. When an action is quiet, it reveals motive. Are you doing it for attention or for growth? Are you willing to change even if no one applauds it? True inner renewal often starts when a person chooses faithfulness over visibility. The smallest steps taken consistently shape direction more than occasional leaps fueled by emotion. Small acts also train discipline. They create rhythm. They teach patience. Growth that lasts is rarely explosive, it is gradual. Just as a path is formed by repeated footsteps, character is shaped by repeated choices. Each small act becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Skipped moments accumulate just as much as faithful ones. Neglect does not arrive suddenly, it builds quietly through what is ignored. There is also power in symbolism. A small act can become a reminder anchoring a larger truth. When something ordinary is done with awareness, it carries meaning beyond the action itself. It becomes a physical expression of an internal decision. The body reinforces what the heart has chosen. Over time, these symbols shape mindset, posture, and perspective. What begins as a simple habit becomes a statement: this matters. Small acts invite consistency, and consistency produces trust. Trust in the process, trust in growth, trust in direction. You do not need to understand everything to begin. You only need to take the next right step. Momentum is born from movement, not perfection. Small actions lower the barrier to change, making progress possible even when motivation is low or circumstances are difficult. In the end, the greatness of a life is not measured only by defining moments, but by the quiet faithfulness of daily choices. What you repeatedly do in private eventually shapes what you become in public. Never underestimate the power of the small. When done with intention, humility, and sincerity, small acts become the doorway through which lasting transformation enters. Cleansing leads to clarity and purpose. After purification comes lightness, direction, and renewed focus. Each step becomes more intentional and aligned with purpose. Cleansing leads to clarity and purpose, and this connection is one of the most consistent patterns in personal and spiritual growth. When something is unclean, cluttered, or neglected, it affects more than appearance. It distorts perception. Dirt blurs vision. Weight slows movement. Disorder creates confusion. In the same way, when the inner life is burdened by unresolved issues, lingering guilt, unexamined habits, or emotional residue, it becomes difficult to see clearly or move forward with confidence. Direction feels uncertain, not because the path is missing, but because the lens is clouded. Cleansing begins with removal. It requires identifying what no longer belongs and having the courage to let it go. This process can feel unsettling because we often grow attached to what we carry even when it weighs us down. Familiar burdens can feel safer than unfamiliar freedom.
Yet clarity cannot coexist with excess.
When the unnecessary is stripped away, space is created for understanding, insight, and renewal. Light enters where clutter once dominated. As cleansing progresses, awareness sharpens. You begin to notice things that were previously ignored. Patterns become visible. Motives are exposed, choices are examined more honestly. This heightened awareness is not meant to shame but to guide. It allows you to distinguish between what merely fills time and what truly aligns with purpose. When clarity increases, decision-making becomes steadier. You stop reacting and start responding. You move with intention rather than impulse. Purpose is revealed through alignment. When inner and outer actions are cleansed of contradiction, direction emerges naturally. You no longer feel pulled in multiple directions trying to satisfy conflicting desires or expectations. Energy that was once scattered becomes focused. Purpose is not something you chase, it is something you uncover once obstacles are removed. When distractions fade, calling becomes clearer. Cleansing also restores confidence. There is a quiet strength that comes from knowing your steps are not hindered by hidden weight. Movement feels lighter. Progress feels possible. You no longer hesitate as much, second-guess every decision or fear exposure. Clarity replaces confusion, and with it comes peace. Not the absence of challenge, but the presence of assurance. Purpose is sustained by maintenance. Cleansing is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice. Life continues to leave residue, and regular reflection prevents build-up. This rhythm of renewal keeps clarity sharp and direction steady. It ensures that purpose remains a lived experience rather than a distant idea. In the end, clarity is not about having all the answers, it is about having clean vision. Purpose is not about perfection, it is about alignment. When cleansing is embraced, confusion loses its grip, focus returns, and each step forward carries meaning. A purified path invites steady progress, and a clear heart makes purposeful living possible.